The moment my former boss saw the email projected onto the giant conference room screen, he froze. He stood up, tried to say something, stopped halfway through the sentence, then walked straight out of the room while 50 people watched. Nobody followed him. Nobody defended him. And for the first time in years, nobody believed a word he said. 3 months earlier, that same man had fired me in front of the entire office and blamed me for a mistake that nearly cost the company millions. I lost my job, my reputation, and almost everything I had worked for. What nobody in that room knew was that the story was about to get much worse for him. Because the email on that screen was only the beginning. To understand why that moment happened, you need to know what he did first. My name is Ryan. At the time, I was 28 years old and working as a financial analyst for a fast-growing tech company. Nothing glamorous. Long hours, too many spreadsheets, too many meetings. But I genuinely loved the job. I had spent 4 years there. I knew the systems, I knew the clients, and I honestly thought I was building a future. At the time, I was also living with my younger sister. A year earlier, our dad had passed away unexpectedly. Since then, I had been helping her get through college. The job wasn't just paying my bills. It was helping keep both of us afloat. Every paycheck mattered. Every promotion mattered. Every hour of overtime mattered. I wasn't chasing luxury. I was chasing stability. My boss was a guy named Derek. Everybody liked him at first. He was charismatic, confident, the type of person who could walk into a room and instantly take control of it. But after working under him long enough, patterns started appearing. Whenever something went right, Derek took credit. Whenever something went wrong, someone else got blamed. People complained about him privately. Nobody challenged him publicly. Because Derek had connections with senior leadership, he always seemed protected, untouchable. For years, I stayed out of it. I focused on my work, collected my paycheck, and kept my head down. Then one project changed everything. The company landed its biggest client ever. The contract was worth millions. Everyone was under pressure, especially Derek. One afternoon, he called me into his office. He handed me a set of financial projections. Something felt wrong immediately. The numbers didn't match our actual data. Not even close. I assumed it was a mistake. I pointed it out. Derek barely looked up. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. Just update the report. I told him the projections weren't accurate. He told me not to worry about it. I pushed back. He pushed harder. The conversation became tense. Eventually I left. But before I did, I saved copies of everything, every draft, every revision, every email. Something told me I might need them. 2 weeks later, the client discovered the discrepancies. The deal exploded. Meetings started happening behind closed doors. Executives were panicking. Everyone was looking for answers. Then came Friday morning, the day my life changed. The entire department was called into a meeting. I felt nervous, but not scared. I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. Then Derek stood up, looked directly at me, and blamed everything on me. Every single thing. He claimed I altered reports, ignored procedures, failed to communicate concerns. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The room was completely silent. Nobody defended me. Nobody spoke. By the end of the meeting, I was fired. Just like that. 4 years gone. Walking out of that building felt unreal. I wasn't just losing a job. I was losing the thing helping support my family. For weeks, I barely slept. I replayed that meeting in my head every night, trying to understand how someone could lie so easily. Then I remembered something. The files. I had everything. Every email, every revision, every instruction. At first, I considered moving on, finding another job, starting over, forgetting about Derek entirely. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized he would do this again. Maybe to someone else, maybe worse. So I started organizing everything, chronologically, every conversation, every edit, every approval. The deeper I dug, the clearer the picture became. Derek had personally approved every major change. In several emails, he explicitly instructed employees to alter projections. Then I found something even worse. Messages showing he knew the numbers were inaccurate before they were submitted. That changed everything. This wasn't a mistake, it wasn't negligence, it was deliberate. I contacted an employment attorney, shared the documentation, and waited. The attorney reviewed everything, then looked at me and said, "Don't delete a single thing." Over the next several weeks, inquiries quietly began. Executives started asking questions. Records started getting reviewed. People started getting interviewed. Derek had absolutely no idea. He thought the story was over. He thought I was gone. He thought he'd won. 3 months later, the company held an internal leadership review. Executives, managers, department heads, everyone was there. Investigators began presenting evidence, one email at a time, one document at a time, one contradiction at a time. Then they displayed the message that changed everything. The email where Derek personally approved the exact changes he later blamed on me. The room went silent, completely silent. Derek stood up, tried to explain, started talking, stopped, then walked straight out of the room. I thought that was the end. I was wrong, because during the investigation, auditors uncovered something nobody had been looking for. Another project, another client, another set of manipulated reports. The deeper they looked, the worse it got. What started as one incident became a pattern stretching back years. Former employees started getting contacted. People who had quietly resigned. People who had been blamed for mistakes they never made. People whose careers had been damaged exactly the way mine had. Suddenly, I wasn't the only victim. I was just the first person who kept the receipts. Within weeks, Derek was terminated. But that wasn't the biggest surprise. The executive who had protected him for years also lost his position. Investigators discovered he'd ignored multiple warnings from employees. Warnings that could have stopped everything. The guy everyone thought was untouchable wasn't, and neither was the person protecting him. For years, people believed Derek was the problem. Turns out he was only part of it. The entire system that enabled him collapsed with him. A few weeks later, I received a settlement for my wrongful termination. More importantly, my name was cleared. The truth was finally on record. For a long time, I thought revenge meant making someone suffer. Looking back, that's not what mattered. The thing that mattered was the truth. Because once the truth came out, everything else happened on its own. Derek destroyed his own career. I just refused to let him bury what happened. The craziest part, a few months later, a former coworker reached out to me. She had documents, emails, and a story about another executive from the same company. A story that was somehow even worse. And what happened next, nobody saw coming.